All right, let's see if I've done this correctly. Hi, everybody. Tell me if I'm actually on stream. Looks like I'm on stream. Can you hear me? Is the audio coming through? That's kind of the big thing. Seeing me is not as important. Hello, Keeping It Criminal. Keck, how you doing? Hello, Pat. I still haven't gotten the chat on my screen yet. It will happen at some point, I promise. I just don't know when exactly. I meant to actually change my shirt, but I didn't, so whatever. You guys get to see a shirt I've been wearing for practically 5 days. It's kind of interesting when you don't actually have to, worry too much about your hygiene, because you just kind of, slightly wash what you can, and then go from there. Technically, I have things that are supposed to protect this PICC line from water. So I took a shower with him once, and it limited success, I would say. Hello, everybody. King Leo 9, how's it going? So I've been hesitant to take a full shower again, but maybe next time what I'll do is just pack 3 of the things around me. But don't worry, Peter. I appreciate you even being here. Seriously, I appreciate everybody even just being here. If you're wondering, yes, that is a cat bed next to me. I figure if Tina comes in, she'll have a place to lay down, which isn't on my mouse or keyboard. I have a feeling that's not going to matter, but it's an attempt, and that's all we can ask. She actually may not come in here. She is sprawled out on the guest bed in the guest room and looked extremely comfortable and tired. Yes, Tina is, in fact, the star of the entire show. Pretty much. So, what's happened this weekend is kind of insane. So, a really good friend of mine, a really close friend of mine, and I, a long time ago, started a poker league, in 2003, and it ran until about 2006. That is actually where OPT comes from. The league is no more. It hasn't been a thing since 2007, but, I kept the name OPT and put lawyer in front of it thinking I was clever. I'm very uncreative when it comes to names. So anyway, he came over a few weeks ago and basically said he wanted to get the old gang together. And because a lot of them have moved away. When I say moved away, I mean to Florida, Idaho, Rhode Island, a lot of them, Cincinnati, a lot of them have moved far away. And he somehow convinced all of these people to fly in or drive in. And we had over 20 people in my house Saturday from the old gang, basically. People I haven't seen for years. People I haven't, been able to keep up with for a long time, except on Facebook. And just, it was quite literally the best night I've had since this all started. It was fun. It was, everyone wore masks too, just because, I'm clearly immunocompromised, or at least I don't have the vaccine yet, but news on that in a second. But yeah, everyone wore a mask. Even if they hated it, they wore it just for me. I wore a mask, We played poker. Some people just stopped by to say hi, and they drove from quite a ways to say hi. Quite literally, I had someone drive from a county that's over an hour away just to come in and say hello. So that by itself was incredible. Yeah, exactly. My buddy coordinated all of this before he told me. Well, sort of. He had it set up where 48 hours beforehand was kind of a stopgap. If we needed to change it to some online poker tournament, we would do it that way. Or through Zoom calls and things like that. He actually FaceTimed in a few people who couldn't make it And, I spent, 20 minutes talking to each of them. And like, it was a night that I will not forget. And the fact that he even thought of that, and then that he coordinated all of it, was just, I cannot explain. I don't have the proper vocabulary, I think, to explain how I felt Saturday night. I had a good friend of mine drive up here from Rhode Island. He spent the night here, which actually meant my father, for the first time since June 9th, got to sleep in his own bed, which he, after 2 days, told me was nice. After the first day, he told me he had completely forgotten his nightly routine. But, you guys are absolutely amazing. And you guys are, the support I've gotten from the online communities are amazing. Absolutely. And I will never, downplay that. You guys are quite amazing. But to have so many of my friends, there was probably the most incredible thing, again, I've experienced since March 29th, when I started the colon cleansing from my surgery the next day. I really do recommend, if you have any symptom whatsoever, to get a colonoscopy at this point, because you never know. And I will tell you, the day before your colonoscopy sucks. It really sucks. It 100% sucks. But the colonoscopy itself is like nothing. I remember they had me on the bed. They didn't even transfer me to a surgery table. They just had me on the hospital bed. They wheeled me into the surgery room or whatever it was. The anesthesiologist is they turned me on my side, got me in position. And then the anesthesiologist is okay, you're going to feel a slight burning sensation. It will dissipate quickly, I promise. And then you won't remember anything. So I close my eyes. I'm waiting for the sensation. I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And the next thing I know, I'm back in PACU with the nurse arousing me, getting me up from what had happened. And I'm sitting there did you guys actually do anything? So, because I didn't feel much of anything. Now, later I would feel a bit of pain, not in my stomach, but around my gut, because they did a biopsy, and there was a little pain from that, which they said was going to happen. But so I think they gave me Percocet for it just in case, and I used a little bit of it and pretty much used Tylenol. It wasn't too bad. But so that was Saturday, and today at noon, I am able and scheduled to get my first shot of the COVID vaccine. I've been working with my oncologist like crazy to determine whether or not I can actually get said vaccination in the first place. And he said yes, because it doesn't contain an active strain of the virus. So even though my immune system is kind of all out of whack, I can still get the vaccine. So that's good to know. So I'm getting my first shot today right at noon, which is awesome. But yeah, I had asked him before, in April, if I could get it. And he said, yeah, sure, absolutely. And then all of this happened, with my gut and all the other stuff. And I was in the hospital for a month. And so I wanted to ask him again just to make sure. And then the next time I saw him, my white blood count was so significantly low that I'm like, I'm not even going to bother. The next time I saw him, my white blood cell count was significantly higher. So I went ahead and asked him, like, hey, can I get said vaccine? He said yes. And a couple of days later, when I got home, I scheduled the vaccine at Walmart. I tried scheduling it through like my doctor's office, but they were like pushed out till August. I looked on Walmart's website, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can do it as early as Monday at noon," and it was like Friday. And I'm like, yeah, just do that. Betsy, I'm really sorry to hear that. I hope he's okay, and I hope he makes it through what he's going through. Thankfully, I don't believe mine has gone into my liver. I know that they said that there were some tumors on my liver, like the lower ridge of it, but they never mentioned anything about it going into my liver. And thank you, King Leo. I absolutely appreciate that. 100%. You guys are amazing. It is so humbling every time I go into somebody's like live stream, just like give a wave, and the amount of people that stop chatting about whatever they were chatting about and just say hello and ask how I'm doing that day is, I don't think you understand how amazing that is to me. I don't think you could possibly understand what it means to me, because it means a lot. And it's part of what helps me get out of bed when I'm overwhelmed by emotions. You guys are absolutely incredible, and I love all of you. I had my 4th chemo session last week. I think I talked about it last week. At least I talked about the fact that it was happening. It went fine, no issues. I am getting the cold neuropathy in my hands, though, and it's staying with me. So I probably need to talk to my doctor about that and let him know that this is actually staying with me and not going away. And what that is basically is if I grab something cold, my hand feels like, when your hand feels like it's asleep? It's kind of like that, only way more intense. And if you hold it long enough, it hurts. And like, apparently that can, if that goes unchecked for too long, it can lead to permanent brain damage. This is basically what I have to do. I go to chemo every 2 weeks, and then I have a pump for 46 hours at home. Like, it's in a fanny pack and everything. Like, yeah, that is literally what I'm doing as well. I'm taking a chemo called Folfox at the moment. Thank you, Sandy. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Keck. I seriously, like, you guys are freaking amazing. This community is amazing. Seriously, like, everybody in it is just, you all are amazing people. Seriously. It's really humbling to see that. And sometimes I feel a little bad because, I go into a chat and everyone's like focused on me, and suddenly like even the streamers will like focus on me for a moment. And I feel kind of bad. Like, you guys were talking about something and now you're focused on me. Sorry. But the fact that everybody cares is so, I can't, as I said before, I can't describe it. I legitimately cannot describe it. And I'm a lawyer. I know a lot of words, allegedly. Hint, I don't actually know a lot of words. I have to look a lot of stuff up. GoodOldDictionary.com helps. And then there's some legal dictionary I sort of look at every so often. Or I'll just look up case law and be like, what does this word mean? And a lot of times it's like a Latin word that I've, like every other decision is like, why do we even bother using this anymore? There has been a legitimate push to get Latin out of the law. Like, for the most part, there's some words that'll never leave, but there's been a major push to put things in plain English ever since I became an attorney. Like, it was even talked about in law school. But if you guys ever have any questions, seriously, go ahead and post them in the chat. And I mean any questions, because at this point, this is the rambling point of the stream. And we're only 16 minutes in. Yeah, that's basically, yeah, that's pretty much right. Oh, God. I love the fact that Schrodinger and Keck have invited me onto so many streams just to talk about these sovereign citizens and First Amendment auditor idiots. Like, I've said it before, like in chat and like comments on their videos and whatnot, but I'll say it here. I have done way more to protect the rights of people from police overreach and police misconduct than they will ever do. Straight up. Like, unless somehow one of these auditors literally catches like another situation where like somebody is like killed by an officer completely like wrongly. Like, I have done way more. I have gotten evidence suppressed because the officers have overstepped their bounds. I have gotten cases dismissed. Thank you, Keck. I appreciate it. See you later. It was a really fun stream yesterday. It 100% was. Excuse me. Goodness. But yeah, these frauditors, it's a correct term for them. I hate to say it, but they are not protecting our First Amendment rights. They have no idea how to do that. They make themselves the story for clicks and views on YouTube. And, you know, if any of them see this and want to at me, go right ahead, because I will take you on. Because, like, you don't understand things like time, place, and manner restrictions. And sometimes you're right. Like, sometimes they do have the right to do what they're doing, but they make themselves so obnoxious that then the police want to arrest them for disorderly conduct, which they can do if it gets to a certain level. Also, the whole not being trespassed from public property is just a daydream, I think. Also, the whole, I heard this last night on Schrodinger's stream, and I've never understood this. Soliciting a trespass. That makes zero sense to me. And I understand what they think it is. They think that the police officer goes to the person and says, hey, do you want to trespass him? And then the person says yes. And they think that's a soliciting a trespass. But all it is asking the person, do you want to file a complaint? And then they say yes. But in this case, it's just trespass. There's no difference. The officer is just pointing out the law. I mean, that's it. Yeah, thank you, Sandy. I really try to do. I don't know. I've never looked into that. It wouldn't be a crime. It would be a civil matter. Regardless, it would not be something that the police would get involved with. It would always be a civil matter 100% of the time, at least as far as I know. I can't imagine there's a criminal statute out there that says that, but and I'm not saying that it would work either. I don't know. I was not a civil attorney. I've done some civil work for my judge as a staff attorney, so I know a decent amount about civil procedure and civil law. That is not something that we've ever run into, because I believe that would be something like a copyright suit. I think. I don't know, and those are always federal, but I have no idea. But I've gotten convictions overturned because so I'll tell you this story without any names because it's public record, but I'm not going to put names out there, mostly to protect myself. But there was this guy, he was up for sentencing. He decided he didn't want to be sentenced, so he ran. And then later on, he was pulled over because they saw his vehicle and they knew that he had the police knew he had an active warrant for his arrest for skipping out on sentencing. So he leads him on a chase through some red lights, stop signs, which immediately is an F3, a felony of the third degree, which is right in the center of our felony degrees, pretty much. We have the 5th, 4th, 1st, and 2nd, and then there's like murder and aggravated murder are unclassified felonies. They're literally stand by themselves. But other than that, like what he done was a third degree felony. But they also found 170 pills of Percocet in his car without a prescription. So you might think to yourselves, that's illegal, right? And the answer would be yeah. In Ohio, we have a statute that talks about having bulk amount of a prescription drug, and that's X number of pills. And if you have 5 times over that, it becomes a felony of the 2nd degree, rather than a felony of the 1st degree or the 3rd degree. So they charge him with a felony of the 2nd degree, and their expert, who's like a lab tech from the police department, comes in and is like, oh yeah, bulk amount is 60 pills. Now, I'm not really good at math, but I'm pretty sure 60 times 5 is 300. So the defense attorney stood up and basically mentioned this. So they went to lunch. They came back and the state recalled the expert to the stand. And they're like, what'd you find out over lunch? Oh, well, this dosage is actually, bulk amount is actually 30 pills, which would be 150, which would then prove the 2nd degree felony. So the defense attorney, in the most brilliant move I've seen, stands up and says, so you were 100% certain of that 60 pill number when you said it then? Yes. And now you're 100% certain that it's 30 pills? Yes. Thank you. And then the state tried to get in a photocopy of the page that the expert had brought with him, and the judge denied that, and yet still found him guilty of the F2 because it was a bench trial. I get a hold of this. I argue, among other things, that the state didn't actually prove anything because you literally presented 2 numbers that didn't show anything. And the court agreed with me. He was given 9 years in prison, and I cut his sentence down to 4 because he was found guilty of the fleeing and eluding charge, and there was nothing I could do about that. But I actually met the guy years later. Of course, I met him at the courthouse because he had another case. And then he had a case in front of my judge. That was a thing. He's one of those guys that believes he knows the system way too well. Yeah. He doesn't. That's the thing. But again, that's, to me, protecting the system. The system has rules, and if the system doesn't follow those rules, then chaos ensues. And if we don't follow the rules of evidence, if we don't follow the rules of procedure, thank you, Sandy. In case you're all wondering, Sandy's referring to my playthrough of Contradiction, which I highly recommend. Not my playthrough, the game itself. I would play the game first before watching my playthrough if you have any interest in doing so, because it's one of those games that you play once and there's no real replay value. It's an interactive movie kind of thing. And it doesn't have alternate endings. Like some games that I've played on FMV games I've played on my stream have alternate endings to them because your decisions matter and whatnot. The Contradiction doesn't have that. It's a straight straight linear kind of game, but it's really fun. I enjoyed it. A little frustrating at times because I'm, sometimes just forgot some of the contradiction parts, but it's a fun game and y'all should play it. And if you're not going to play it, I guess you could watch my playthrough, but it's really fun. It's campy as hell in a good way, I think. The main character is just hilarious in his mannerisms. Because he always, he does the Shatner pause every so often. His eyes overreact to everything. He overreacts to everything. It's amazing. The fact that the game is out there is great. And then I played another game with the same actor in it. And because the same actor in it was in it, he's hilarious. But because the same actor was in it, everybody thought it was supposed to be a successor to Contradiction. It's called Dark Side of the Moon, which is another game I'd highly recommend only because the plot goes so batshit crazy that you actually just need to see it live. It's not the greatest of games, whatnot, but it's a fun game-ish. It's a little frustrating at times because they really don't give you too much hints as to what to do, and sometimes what you need to do is extremely obtuse, but Tina, see if I can get her to come in here. But anyway, still fighting the cancer, obviously. My next chemo session is next week. They did not give me the Neulasta shot at the end of this session because my white blood cell count when I went in was 35, and the normal range is 3 to 11. Excuse me. And basically, they're it's high enough to the point where even if it drops, it's not going to drop low enough. Which I'm that's cool. So we did that. Am I a fan of Star Trek? I have watched The Next Generation. So I would say I'm a fan of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That was a really good series. Outside of that, kind of less than a casual fan. But Deep Space Nine was really good if you can get past the first season. If you can get past the stiffness of the first season, the show takes off with so much character development that more character development than it has any right to have. And it's absolutely where some characters end up is absolutely amazing. And it's one of those long journeys that, you end up at the end of it being wow, that's kind of amazing. The ending of it, it made sense, I guess. I was a little disappointed in it, but it wasn't it was all right. It wasn't like the ending to Seinfeld or Lost or any of those shows. I didn't really watch Seinfeld, but I did watch the conclusion of it, and even I realized that was a really crappy ending. I've been decompressing my stomach the entire time, and I'm still having stomach acid. Mentally speaking, my mental health has been actually quite stable for the last few days. Obviously, I was emotional when everyone was over and just thinking about that. I did get a bit emotional Friday night, just one of those things where I told somebody I just want to be normal again. And then, I kind of lost it after that. Even with the cancer and whatnot, I just want to be able to, be normal, eat food. Really, that's the main thing. I want to be able to eat food again. And I'm really my oncologist did say that he thinks that's going to happen, quote unquote, soon. I don't know what soon means to him, but who was my favorite character? Cisco was amazing. It's probably the default answer, but I really loved Cisco as he was just a badass IMO. It's Walmart reminding me that I have my appointment at noon. Thanks. I'm pretty sure I remember. But Yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, my mental health meds are working. The weirdest thing of it is, excuse me, when I take my meds in the morning, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I will have a hard gag reflex to the point where I need to actually take anti-nausea medication. And then sometimes they just go down pretty much normally. Like I have like capsules for some odd reason always cause me a gag reflex, and I'm not sure why. And then in the evening, when I just have three like blood pressure medications, like sometimes I take those and like I'll have a gag reflex when I put them in my mouth, but when I swallow, nothing. And then sometimes I have a hard gag reflex. Again, I don't know why. It's the weirdest gosh darn thing. But yeah. Um I am seeing my PCP tomorrow. For some swelling issues I'm having in my legs again. I was having these issues when I was in the hospital. Like my legs and like feet, top of my feet swelled hard core because like of all the liquid that TPN was dropping into my system and all the liquid they were giving me, whatnot, and the amount of liquid I wasn't giving back. They had been giving me a Lasix in the hospital, but it was pretty much a stopgap. But they gave me a Lasix prescription as I left. And that, like after a week, started really working. It was become extremely noticeable. And suddenly, like the last 3 days I had said Lasix, because it was only like a 30-day supply, my swelling started coming back, and we don't know why. So tomorrow, I will be going to my PCP to kind of try to figure out what the heck's going on. I don't know. Gal was kind of interesting. Garrock was interesting too. I mean, as I said, the whole series was just good. It was very good. And I remember I have a friend who's a deep Trekkie. Like he came to middle school on Halloween dressed in full uniform, like Star Trek uniform, with the badge and everything. The badge that worked and everything, like made the noise when you hit it. Um I remember messaging him as I'm watching Deep Space Nine, and I'm like, I know we made fun of you for being a Trekkie way back in the day, but I got to say, this show is actually kind of good. And when I got to like the last season and the last, I want to say like 11 episodes, like the last episodes that are all completely strung together, like almost like a movie kind of a thing, because they're all like one after the other. They're all like literally sewn together. He told me that he wished he could be me so he could see it for the first time again. And I got to say, it was very good. I don't know if I'd call it like the best thing on television I've ever seen, but considering TV kind of sucks, probably was. Dax is an interesting character, like in general. The I was kind of sad that they had to replace the actor in the last season, but whatever. She worked after a little bit. Anyway, as I said, I really didn't have much to talk about on the cancer side of things. Anyone's got any kind of questions about that or anything they want me to talk about, just let me know. I said my mental health has been stable, thank God. I legitimately don't know how I've been able to keep up with that, but it's been very good to me so far. And I've been able to like power through a lot of my emotional points just because I've had mental health treatment. And honestly, I truly believe, because I'm a man of faith, and I truly believe that I was put in the exact right positions to to get the treatment I needed, to get the help I needed, to get to be in the completely correct place. It's amazing how that feels. And I'm not going to get into, maybe someday I'll make a video about my spiritual journey, just so I don't get all religious on you all the time. That is so awesome, Sandy. I'm so happy to hear that. Like, my favorite t-shirt is the one that says stigma free from NAMI. And part of the reason why I started talking about my own mental health was because I wanted to be a part of the end the stigma movement. You know, because my judge, when I would apply for a different position, whatnot, that would, pay more or whatever, she was extremely supportive, but she's like, don't mention your mental health right away. I'm like, well, why not? It's literally a major part of me. She's like, because they won't hire you. And I'm like, well, okay, why not? It's like, well, because there's a stigma attached to mental health issues. Okay, there shouldn't be. That's my thought. And once I heard that, I started a crusade, basically, to stop mental health issues. On my Twitch stream, I did a fundraiser for NAMI. We ended up raising $1,200, which is amazing. I love NAMI. Like, I honestly think they're one of the more important charities we have, along with anything that talks about, cancer issues, because, we have that. And I'm not saying they're the most important, but they're definitely one of the most important charities we have out there right now. Because right now, mental health is such on the forefront of everybody's mind. Because, I mean, look at what happened last year with the pandemic and whatnot. Everybody got shut in. And I believe I heard, and I don't know how true this is, mental health issues skyrocketed. So I'm convinced that NAMI's goal is more important than ever. And I want to do whatever little part I can to help with that, whether it be donating, whether it be just talking about it. I know for a fact, because it happened, that my mental health vlogs, when I was watching another streamer who was in the Zelda 1 randomizer community, and he saw me in the chat and decided right then, because of what I had done, he was going to talk about his own mental health issues. And he did right then. And it was so touching that I had actually affected somebody that much that they actually started talking about their own issues. And if we can get that out there, one, people support people. I mean, look at you guys. You support me, and you guys barely know me, and yet you guys are here all the time. And I love all of you for that. Seriously. You guys are amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love you all. To have people support me, it feels so amazing. And he was getting support too after talking about it. Now, unfortunately, I don't think he's talked about it much since. But the fact that he even stood out and did it once was incredible. And I will never forget that. The mental health stigma needs to end. We need to have more cancer research. That's slightly selfish, but both of those kind of are. But I'm in them now. I'm in both of these things now. And the fact of the matter is that I know I can fight. See, I don't know if you can see it too well in the lighting and whatnot, but yeah. But the I and can are highlighted. I can fight cancer. I know who that is, and I'm going to call them back. But yeah, you guys are amazing. I love you all. I think that's going to be about it, because I just said I need to call that number back. That's my TPN place that needs me to tell them what supplies I need. So I should probably get going, but I wanted to make an actual ending to the stream rather than just being oh, gotta go bye. But thank you guys all so much for being here. If you're watching this on VOD, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. You guys have a wonderful day and week. And I will see you next time, whenever the heck that is. I really do not. I noticed I've been doing these a lot on Monday. I really do not have a schedule for these things. It's really just whenever I feel like I can do these or I have something to talk about. As it turns out, I didn't really have a lot to talk about, but, such is life. But again, thank you guys all much. Love you all.